The Organized Mind, Thinking Straight in the Age of Information Overload by Daniel J. Levitin. Hey there, welcome. Really glad you're here. So, can we talk about feeling overwhelmed for a second? You know that drowning sensation when your inbox is exploding, notifications won't stop buzzing, and you've got a million choices to make about everything? You're genuinely trying to focus, but your mind feels like someone opened 50 browser tabs at once. Keys vanish into thin air, appointments slip through your fingers, and simple decisions suddenly feel impossible. Sound familiar? Trust me, you've got plenty of company. Let me tell you about Ioana. She grew up in communist Romania, where life under a brutal regime meant choices were basically non-existent. Food lines stretched forever, shortages were just normal life. Then she moves to America for university. One day, her professor discovers her completely frozen in the college bookstore aisle, looking genuinely distressed. What's the problem? Not culture shock, not missing home. It's the pens. An entire aisle crammed with pens. Felt tip, ink, gel, erasable, ballpoint, rollerball. 50 different kinds, maybe more. Back in Romania? 3 types. Tops, if you were lucky. Which one do I need? She asks desperately. I've been standing here reading labels for an hour. That paralyzing moment Ioana experienced? That's basically all of us now. Welcome to the age of information overload. And honestly, it's doing a number on us. Not just killing productivity, but draining our peace of mind, crushing creativity, and even stealing our happiness. But here's the thing. What if there's actually a way through this chaos? A method to think clearly again, to organize not just your messy desk or overflowing closet, but your actual mind? That's exactly what we're diving into today, guided by neuroscientist Daniel J. Levitin and his best-selling book, The Organized Mind. Levitin isn't your typical lab coat scientist. He's also a musician, a record producer, and the guy who wrote that amazing book, This Is Your Brain on Music. He's got this rare gift for peering into our brain's complex machinery and explaining it in ways that just click. The Organized Mind goes way deeper than filing tips or time management hacks, though you'll definitely get practical wisdom. It explores why we struggle in the first place, why our brains, which evolved over thousands of years for a simpler world, feel so scattered now. More importantly, it reveals how the most successful, creative, and genuinely calm people have learned to work with their brain's natural tendencies instead of fighting them, achieving real clarity and focus. Stick around, and you'll understand how your attention and memory actually work. You'll discover why multitasking is basically a lie that's draining your mental battery. And you'll learn powerful, science-backed strategies to get the clutter out of your head, organize your home, your time, your relationships, and even tackle those terrifying big decisions with actual confidence. We're going to explore building systems that free your mind for what genuinely matters. Ready to find some clarity in this age of overload? Let's jump in. So why does walking into a modern supermarket feel like climbing Mount Everest? Back in 1976, your average store stocked around 9,000 items. Today, over 40,000. Yet most of us grab 80 to 85% of what we need from only about 150 items. That means we're actively ignoring almost 39,850 products, all screaming for our attention. Just think about that mental effort for a second. Daniel Levitin kicks things off by showing us that feeling overwhelmed isn't just in our heads, it's biological reality. Our brains evolved for a hunter-gatherer world, where you might encounter maybe 1,000 people in your entire lifetime. Take a half-hour stroll through Midtown Manhattan today, and you'll pass that many. We're bombarded daily with information equivalent to 175 newspapers, processing something like 100,000 words outside of work. Every tweet, every email, every news alert is fighting for precious real estate in our brains. Neuroscientists have actually measured our conscious processing power, about 120 bits per second. Sounds pretty good, right? Except understanding just one person speaking takes about 60 bits per second. That means, as Levitin points out, you can barely understand two people talking at once. Three people? Forget about it. No wonder we misunderstand each other constantly. This endless bombardment, especially of trivial decisions like Ioana's pen nightmare, creates something called decision fatigue. Turns out, our brains have a daily limit for making decisions. Once we hit that wall, our ability to make good choices, even important ones, completely tanks. Our impulse control weakens, our judgment gets fuzzy. Here's the kicker. The decision-making network doesn't automatically prioritize. Choosing a pen can burn the same mental energy needed to decide on a major life change. How do we cope? Many of us instinctively use something called satisficing. Nobel laureate Herbert Simon coined this term, which means choosing an option that's good enough, rather than agonizing over finding the absolute perfect choice. Your dry cleaner, your favorite coffee shop, are they the best possible options? Probably not, but they work. They get the job done, and that's sufficient. Satisficing, Levitin explains, is actually crucial for productivity. It saves our precious decision-making energy for things that truly matter. Research shows happy people aren't necessarily those who have the most, but those who are content with what they have. They satisfice often. But satisficing only takes us so far. Our brains have built-in systems to help manage information flow. The most crucial one is the attentional filter. Think of it as your brain's personal bouncer. Millions of neurons constantly scan the environment, deciding what's important enough to let into your conscious awareness. Most sensory noise of daily life, the fridge humming, your socks on your feet, gets filtered out, usually without you even noticing. What gets past the bouncer? Two main things: change and importance. Your brain is an incredible change detector. Driving down a smooth road, you can chat or listen to music. Hit a sudden bump, and boom, your attention snaps right to it. Your brain flagged the change. Importance is more personal. In a noisy room, you might miss conversations around you, but if someone across the room says your name, or something critical like, "Fire!" your attention instantly locks in. Your filter knows what matters to you. This filter is amazing, but it's also why so much of life feels like we're on autopilot. And it leads to something called inattentional blindness. We think we see everything, but we constantly miss things happening right in front of us when our attention is focused elsewhere. Levitin mentions the famous, quote, gorilla experiment. If you haven't seen it, seriously pause this and search for basketball gorilla experiment. Viewers count basketball passes among players in white shirts, ignoring those in black. Most people get so focused on counting that they completely miss a person in a gorilla suit walking right through the middle of the game. Their attentional system is simply overloaded. This brings us to a fundamental truth. Levitin emphasizes attention is a limited resource. You literally can't pay attention to everything at once. That's why we instinctively turn down the radio when looking for a specific street address. It's why, after juggling grocery bags, answering your ringing phone, and keeping the cat from escaping, you suddenly realize you have absolutely no idea where you put your keys. Your brain just couldn't track one more thing. So if our attention is so limited, how do we get anything complex done? Our brains operate in two primary, mutually exclusive modes, like a mental seesaw. First, there's the central executive mode. This is your stay-on-task network. It's active when you're focused, doing your taxes, writing a report, navigating traffic. It tries to keep distractions out. Engaging this mode takes effort, hence the phrase paying attention. Then there's the mind-wandering mode, also called the default mode. This is your brain's natural resting state. It takes over when you're relaxing, staring out a train window, or sitting by the ocean. Thoughts drift fluidly. Connections form between random ideas. It's the realm of daydreams. This mode is incredibly important for creativity, insight, and even empathy. But it's also what hijacks your focus when a task gets boring, or when you realize you've read 3 pages without absorbing a single word. Crucially, there's a switch in our brain, located in a region called the insula, that toggles between these two modes. This switch directs our mental resources. But constantly flicking this switch back and forth, which is exactly what multitasking forces us to do, is metabolically expensive. It burns through our brain's fuel, glucose, rapidly, leaving us feeling tired, foggy, and prone to errors. Levitin is crystal clear about this. Multitasking is a myth. We think we're juggling multiple tasks simultaneously, but we're actually just switching our attention rapidly between them, and each switch comes with a cognitive cost. We become less efficient, make more mistakes, and stress hormones like cortisol increase. Even worse, multitasking creates a dopamine addiction feedback loop. Our brain gets rewarded for seeking novelty, checking that email, glancing at that notification, rather than for sustained focus. When you learn information while multitasking, it even sends it to the wrong part of the brain, the striatum for skills instead of the hippocampus for facts and ideas, making it harder to recall later. So if our brains aren't built for this constant juggling, and our attention is limited, how did our ancestors manage complex information? And how can we? Levitin takes us back 5,000 years to a game-changing invention, writing. What were the first things humans wrote down? Not epic poems or love letters, but business inventories, sales receipts, recipes. As cities grew and trade increased, merchants couldn't keep everything in their heads. Writing became a way to externalize memory. This is the absolute core principle Levitin offers for navigating information overload. Shift the burden of organizing from our brains to the external world. Our brains, while vast, struggle with reliable retrieval. We think we remember things accurately, but cognitive psychologists have shown memory is incredibly fallible, easily distorted, and prone to false confidence. We don't just remember things wrong, we often don't even know we're remembering them wrong. Think about those vivid flashbulb memories, where you were on 9/11, for instance. Many people recall seeing the first plane hit the North Tower live on TV. But video of that first impact wasn't broadcast until the next day. Our brains rewrite memory to fit the known narrative. Retrieval is also messed up by similarity. Why is it hard to remember where you put your keys this time? Because you've put them down in hundreds of different places over the years, and those memories blur together. Unique or emotionally charged events stand out because they have fewer competitors during retrieval. Writing things down, creating external memory aids like calendars, filing cabinets, computers, smartphones, frees up our internal attentional and memory systems. It extends the natural limits of our hippocampus. But writing created new problems: storage, indexing, and access. Where do you put the information so you can actually find it again? This is where categorization becomes crucial. Our brains are natural categorizers. It's a principle of cognitive economy. We group things, beans, blades of grass, emails, tasks, to avoid processing every single detail. Categories can be based on appearance. All the red apples together, or function, things I can write with, includes pen, pencil, crayon, even lipstick in a pinch. We even create conceptual, on-the-fly categories like things to grab in a fire, wallet, photos, pet, items with no physical similarity but bound by a situation. Levitin shows how deep this runs by looking at language across cultures. Early humans made fundamental distinctions: now versus not now, human versus non-human. As languages evolved, universal patterns emerged in naming plants and animals based on practical importance and cognitive ease. Think tree, then maybe grass, then bush, vine, herb. Color terms follow a universal order too. First light/dark, then red, then yellow or green, then blue. These aren't arbitrary. They reflect hardwired principles of how our brains structure the world. The key to harnessing this natural categorizing ability is to create systems outside our heads that mirror or improve upon the brain's own methods. How do highly successful people manage this? Levitin observes that many employ assistants who act as external attentional filters, handling mundane details so the executive can stay focused, present, and in the moment. But even without staff, we can adopt their strategies. One powerful technique is active sorting or triage. When mail, emails, or tasks come in, consciously sort them into categories. 1. Do it now. Urgent things needing immediate attention. 2. Important, but can wait. Things needing review later. 3. Less important. Keep for reference. Catalogs, magazines. 4. Discard. Junk. This simple act externalizes the prioritizing process, reducing mental clutter and anxiety. You know what needs focus now, and what can safely wait. David Allen, the productivity guru, calls this clearing the mind. Writing things down interrupts the brain's rehearsal loop, that nagging internal voice constantly reminding you of undone tasks, freeing up mental energy. Levitin champions the humble 3x5 index card system, one idea, one task per card. This allows for easy sorting, reordering, and random access. Carry a stack. Jot down thoughts or tasks as they arise. Then sort them daily using categories like do today, do this week, delegate, defer, or drop. It gets thoughts out of your head and into the physical world. Even high-tech leaders like Sheryl Sandberg admit to using low-tech notebooks for this very reason. Another powerful externalizing principle Levitin highlights is using what are called Gibsonian affordances. These are design features of objects that tell you how to use them, offloading the need for memory. A door handle affords pulling. A flat plate affords pushing. Scissors have different sized holes for finger and thumb. We can create affordances in our homes to combat losing things. The simple key hook or bowl by the door. A designated tray for your phone and wallet. The rule is the designated place. Always put the item there, no exceptions. This harnesses the hippocampus, our brain's powerful spatial memory system, which evolved to track stationary objects. Things we lose often, like keys or glasses, are things that move around. Giving them a fixed home makes them stationary in our mental map. For frequently used items in multiple locations, scissors, reading glasses, Levitin suggests buying duplicates and giving each a designated spot in each room. This prevents the item from becoming nomadic and taps into place memory within each context. Organizing our physical space, Levitin argues, organizes our mental space. He points to creative people like Joni Mitchell, whose kitchen has meticulously organized drawers for different types of tape, batteries, and baking tools. I don't want to waste energy looking for things, she says. This isn't obsessive compulsion. It's freeing mental bandwidth for creativity. A crucial element, though, is embracing the power of the junk drawer. No system can perfectly categorize everything. We need a miscellaneous category, an unassimilated pile for things that don't fit neatly or that we don't have time to sort immediately. This acts as an escape valve, preventing the entire system from breaking down when faced with ambiguity. Periodically review the junk drawer. Sometimes a new category emerges from its contents. What about our digital lives? The same principles apply, but with added challenges. Our computers often become vast, disorganized, digital junk drawers. The desktop metaphor, with files and folders, mimics a 1950s office, but doesn't fully leverage how our brains work. Levitin suggests exploiting place memory, even digitally. If possible, use different devices or distinct visual environments, like different desktop patterns or user modes, for different domains. One for work, one for personal finance, one for leisure. Stepping into a different digital space can reset your brain and improve focus. For organizing digital files and paper ones, hierarchical structures are key. Nest folders within broader categories. For example, finances, then taxes, then 2025. but keep categories meaningful to you. And don't make hierarchies so deep you get lost. Aim for balance. A key advantage of digital files is searchability, but relying solely on search burdens your memory to recall file names or keywords. Browsing well-organized folders can help you rediscover things you forgot you had. Levitin also tackles the challenge of our increasingly complex social world. We interact with far more people than our ancestors did. Keeping track requires externalizing. He suggests methods similar to those used by attorney Robert Shapiro or record executive Craig Coleman. Maintain detailed contact files, digital or physical. Note where you met someone, what you discussed, mutual connections, personal details like family or hobbies. This provides context and continuity. Use calendar reminders to stay in touch with important contacts. He acknowledges the rise of online social networks like Facebook, which allow us to maintain broad connections with little effort, satisfying a deep longing to know what happened to people from our past. But he cautions that these provide breadth, rarely depth, and can create an illusion of social connection, while potentially decreasing real-world empathy and increasing loneliness for some. Organizing our time presents unique challenges. Damage to the prefrontal cortex, the brain's chief executive, can devastate planning, sequencing, and prioritizing abilities. We see echoes of this in everyday procrastination. Levitin explains procrastination as a failure of self-regulation, often stemming from low frustration tolerance or fear of failure, ego protection. We choose easier, immediately rewarding tasks over difficult ones, with distant payoffs. His advice aligns with Mark Twain's, "Eat the frog. Tackle the most unpleasant task first thing in the morning, when willpower is highest. Break large projects into smaller, manageable chunks to get the dopamine reward of completion more often." Crucially, protect your sleep. Levitin details the neuroscience showing sleep isn't downtime. It's vital for memory consolidation, problem solving, and emotional regulation. During sleep, the brain unitizes, binds chunks of experience, assimilates, integrates new information, and abstracts, discovering hidden rules. Depriving yourself of sleep, even slightly, or disrupting your routine, significantly impairs cognitive performance for days. He even discusses the historical norm of bimodal sleep, 2 blocks per night with a waking period in between, and the power of short naps to restore focus. What about making those truly hard decisions, especially medical ones? Here, Levitin argues passionately for understanding probabilities and fighting our brain's natural biases. Our intuition is terrible with statistics. We fall prey to the framing effect, reacting differently to identical information presented as survival rates versus mortality rates, denominator neglect, focusing on the number of people harmed while ignoring the vast number unaffected, and base rate neglect, ignoring the background frequency of an event. He introduces the fourfold table as a powerful tool for organizing probabilistic information. By visualizing the relationship between test results, positive/negative, and actual conditions, disease, no disease, factoring in base rates and test error rates like false positives and negatives, we can calculate the true probability of having a disease given a positive test. Often, for rare diseases, even a positive test results in a low actual probability. This helps evaluate risks versus benefits of treatments, considering the number needed to treat, how many people must receive a treatment for one person to benefit. He uses examples like prostate cancer surgery, where the number needed to treat is high, around 48, and the risk of significant side effects is substantial, urging patients to weigh quality of life against often small gains in longevity. Finally, Levitin looks toward the future, emphasizing the need to teach our children critical thinking and information literacy in this overwhelming digital age. With information so accessible via the internet, the crucial skill isn't knowing a fact, but knowing how to evaluate information, identifying sources, biases, and expertise, or lack thereof. He critiques the anti-elitism of platforms like Wikipedia, where expertise is often devalued, making it hard for users to know if information is reliable. We need to teach kids, and ourselves, to authenticate, validate, and evaluate online sources. Ultimately, the organized mind is a profound and deeply practical guide. It teaches us that managing the modern flood of information isn't about having a better memory or more willpower. It's about understanding our cognitive limitations and designing our external world, our homes, schedules, digital spaces, and even our decision-making processes, to support our brains, freeing them to do what they do best: think, create, connect, and experience the richness of life. It's about externalizing the clutter so we can internalize the calm. Reading Daniel Levitin's The Organized Mind feels less like reading a self-help book and more like having a wise, patient neuroscientist explain exactly why your brain feels scrambled and then handing you the manual to fix it. What resonates so deeply is that Levitin doesn't just offer tips. He reveals the fundamental mismatch between our ancient brain wiring and our hyper-modern world. The sheer volume of information Levitin quantifies is staggering: 175 newspapers worth of data per day. Understanding that our conscious attention is capped at roughly 120 bits per second, while just listening to one person speak takes 60, is a game changer. It instantly validates that feeling of being overwhelmed. It's not a personal failing, it's a biological constraint we're pushing against daily. The most powerful, actionable idea for me is the principle of externalizing the mind. The realization that writing things down isn't a crutch for a bad memory, but a sophisticated cognitive strategy to free up neural resources is genuinely liberating. The discussion of the simple 3x5 index card system, or even just rigorously using designated places for easily lost items, shows how low-tech solutions can be profoundly effective because they align with how our spatial memory, the hippocampus, actually works. Levitin's demolition of the multitasking myth is also crucial. In a culture that often glorifies juggling, understanding the cognitive costs, the switching penalties, the increased stress hormones, the information going to the wrong brain regions, is a powerful motivator to cultivate focused, single-tasking periods. His exploration of the brain's opposing central executive and mind-wandering modes, and the importance of allowing for daydreaming and rest to replenish our focus and foster creativity, feels like essential wisdom in our always-on world. And the chapter on making hard decisions, particularly medical ones, using tools like the fourfold table, is incredibly empowering. It provides a clear, logical framework to cut through fear and intuition, helping us truly understand risks, benefits, and those often ignored base rates. It's a practical skill for navigating not just health, but any high-stakes choice involving uncertainty. So how can you start applying these ideas today? 1. Do a brain dump. Take 15 minutes right now. Grab a notebook, index cards, or just a sheet of paper, and write down everything currently swirling in your head: tasks, worries, ideas, reminders. Get it out of your mind and onto the page. Feel that? That's the feeling of externalizing, of clearing mental space. 2. Designate one place. Pick one item you frequently misplace: keys, wallet, phone, glasses. Choose one specific spot in your home where it will live from now on. Make a conscious effort for the next week to always put it there the moment you're done using it. Experience how this simple habit leverages your brain's place memory. 3. Schedule single-tasking time. Look at your schedule for tomorrow. Block out just 30 to 50 minutes for focused work on one important task. During that time, turn off email notifications, put your phone on silent and out of sight, and resist the urge to switch tasks. Experience the difference in focus and productivity, even for a short period. The Organized Mind is more than just a book. It's an owner's manual for your brain in the 21st century. It doesn't promise a magical cure for information overload, but it offers something far more valuable: understanding and strategy. It equips you to manage the chaos, not by trying harder, but by thinking smarter about how your mind actually works. It's about creating systems that allow you to reclaim your attention, your time, and ultimately, your peace of mind. That was our deep dive into The Organized Mind by Daniel J. Levitin. We've touched on the big ideas today, the limits of attention, the fallibility of memory, the power of externalizing, the myth of multitasking, and how to think clearly about hard decisions. But honestly, a summary like this is just scratching the surface. The real transformation happens when you immerse yourself in Levitin's full exploration, filled with fascinating studies, relatable stories, and profound insights. This summary is really just a map to help you decide if this is a journey worth taking. If the challenges of information overload resonate with you, if you crave more focus and clarity, then picking up a copy of The Organized Mind isn't just reading, it's an investment in regaining control of your mental world. You can find a link to the book in the description below. And if you found this exploration helpful, if it sparked some ideas or offered some clarity, do me a small favor and hit that like button. Even better, subscribe to the channel. We journey through impactful books like this regularly, aiming to grow wiser together, one summary at a time. I hope you'll join us for the next one.